Is this like selling your soul for fortune and fame sort of things, to do these bad stuff and you'll reap the rewards for materialism?
And later on, when the cult gets
bigger,
yeah, that's like these parties. That's what that was about. Yeah,
because a lot of people don't think this stuff exists. You know, you look at these people, you can tell with the hand signals and what they do, covering their eyes and certain signals that they make with their hand gestures. A lot of these powerful families, even celebrities such as Jay-Z, Beyonce, they've been doing it for years right in front of people. It's in plain sight, basically.
Yes.
And you can go down the conspiracy route. But look what R. Kelly, P. Diddy, all these fucking crazy parties that these have, these freak-offs, everyone drugged up and videos getting done. That's to hold a power over these people. This is the work of the devil himself.
Absolutely. And you know, this guy Tiny, when we were talking to him, this was back in, like I said, 95, 96. It was before first of all, he had no access to the internet, being in Attica. And he'd already been in for 15 years, right? He had told us all about this stuff. He had told us, like, my initial interview with him, I spoke to him over the phone several times after this, but my initial interview with him, he was telling me about he was hard to keep on track because he was all over the place. He was telling me about the Bilderberg Group. I didn't even know what that was, right? And how they controlled all the money and all the wealth and all these people involved. He was telling us about the Grove where I can never remember.
Bohemian Grove.
The Bohemian Grove. The burning of the
owl, the cross.
Right, he was telling that I had never heard of this. This was all really foreign to me. And he, like I said, and then he was telling us about the hand signals. He was telling us, you know, they have to let you know that they're involved. They have to give a clue. They have to tell you for their magic or whatever terminology he used for it to work. They have to tell you. And you know, all that stuff was interesting, but it wasn't what I was there for. You know, I was there to try to solve a case, but it was stuff I never forgot. I wrote it down. I remembered it, a lot of it. You know, people, like you said, they don't believe that it's real. You know, even like fooling around with stuff that's satanic, they don't get it. It's like there's no fooling around. You're either, you know, you get involved and you get involved, and that's it. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the people that in my opinion, my personal opinion is, especially after dealing with this guy Tiny for such a long time, so many interviews, my personal opinion is they do sell their soul. One way or the other, they figure it out. They get told to do this, they do it, and that brings them the wealth.
But you see the destruction, and like you say, that says it's in plain sight. They don't care about the hand signals, the 666, the hand gestures, the number 13, 33rd degree Masons. And listen, there's Masons, a lot of cops are Masons, especially in the UK. Not necessarily everybody's bad that they're Masons and in a sort of club where they can help each other, but there's different levels to it. And I'm not just saying it's Masons, but if you've got these, I'm not saying they're all satanic, this and that, but we're at a stage now in life with the internet, it opens up a lot of eyes. Listen, there's a lot of bullshit out there as well, but you look into it, once you go down that rabbit hole, it's hard not to stop. When you're looking at adrenochrome, when you're looking at babies and rituals and sacrifices, you look at the album covers from the Beatles, they're holding a baby that's all cut and head off, and that ain't normal.
No.
That ain't, and this is way back in the 60s.
Right.
So how long's it been going on? And when you look at all these superstars, they've all got their eyes covered. Well, one eye covered in their albums. Their music's all about satanic rituals. They're talking about killings. They're talking about sex, drink, drugs. And we think, oh yeah, that's a great song. Including myself, I still listen to music I know I shouldn't listen to. But it's difficult when there's so much noise around you.
Yeah.
And this is to then dumb you down, lower your vibration, where you're not really in a state of trying to have a better life, because the whole fuckers have got you by the balls and it's hard to disconnect from it. Do you think you would understand it more now instead of the 90s when it was unheard of? Because you going back and telling people what he says, they'll thought you were fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is a spiritual war going on. That's the truth of the matter. Mm-hmm. And it seems they're winning, and it seems that people don't believe what's going on. Like you just said, they just don't buy it. And again, this was in the 90s, and I did not believe him, because I would, in the course of the investigation, I would later prove everything. 99% of the stuff he told me was true. And this was something that stuck in my head all those years, that he knew about this before anybody, before it became more public. Because he was in on the ground floor with these people. He became a high priest in this cult.
Mm-hmm.
If he was around today, he's not around today. But if he was around today and I had the opportunity to talk to him, I would love to go back and interview him about all of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he'd be able to give me names of people that were maybe nobodies then, that are somebody now.
Even in that sort of lifestyle, there's not many come forward, and if they do come forward, they're dead.
Right.
You look at your John Lennon's,
Right.
shot not far from here.
Right.
Gandhi, Malcolm X, people who want to create change by having a voice without destruction. Like all these wars and destruction, over 10,000 wars. Why is there wars? Why is people killing each other?
Right.
When you actually break it down, you realise it's not just the Bilderbergs, you've got the Rothschilds, you've got BlackRock, all these big companies who control the media, control the funding. People want wars because it's then money for the guns and weapons and the drug trade, the gold trade, the oil trade. It's all money, it's all greed. These people don't see human beings. We're peasants.
Right.
The innocent kids who die all over the world. And listen, UK and America's invaded so many countries. That's why we're disliked as well. But it's not. And listen, I've had friends and family members who've died at war who I love. I would never shoot down any veteran or any soldier because they've just bought into that lifestyle. Same as the police force or anything. They think they're doing it for the right reasons. But when you actually break it down, I've spoke to enough veterans now to understand the pain that they've went through, losing limbs, being shot in the head. A good friend of mine, Toby, who's paralysed from the neck down, and in their minds they're doing it for the right reasons. But then when you come back, like men have come back from Afghanistan and they're questioning, why the fuck are we there?
Crazy.
Weapons of mass destructions, and there was no weapons there, so why was over 1 million Iraqis killed? Like,
Right.
I'm never shoot down, like I say, any soldier because they believe they're doing it for their honour, their
Absolutely.
country, and I respect that.
Me too.
And I tried to join the Marines when I was 18, so my life would have been a different course. But when you actually question it, it breaks my heart to see innocent kids losing their lives, coming back here, and they struggle with PTSD, they're homeless, and yet no one gives a fuck.
Right.
And that's the sad thing, because if we being played, can you imagine all these vaccines and poisons in our foods, poisons in the sky? You've got everybody working 9 to 5, rushing and through a system. Can you imagine if people actually, it was all a lie and they were trying to harm us? Can you imagine they were trying to poison us? Can you imagine they were injecting us with
Right.
poison? And I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so I'm not saying to everybody listen to what
No, of
I'm
course.
saying, just question what I'm saying, but just try and look into it yourself. We talk about chemtrails, you talk about these rituals and all these superstars, and we shouldn't idolise anyone, but idolise these people and put them on a pedestal. But you actually break it all down, they're more fucked up than anyone. And that's when you question, and sometimes you can go down. But I don't know, I don't understand yet why the fuck I know all this. I can scare the shit out of people with the information that I've been given or the books that I've read.
I know.
People on the left say, don't talk about it, it triggers me. People on the right say, let's kill them all. Kill all the reasons, like as if that's actually something we can do.
Yeah.
And nobody in the middle just, wash my hands of it.
Yeah.
This is something we've got to do, which is why I appreciate so much what you do, calling out these abuses.
Thank you. And also, you've just prompted me to think about something else, and that is we don't associate women with child abuse, and we forget about the sheer volume of young boys who are being abused as well. So we focus on men abusing girls. And whereas I look at the whole picture, because I've interviewed boys who were in care homes who were put on sunshine coaches in the 70s and driven up to London, where they were dressed up as fairies and paraded in front of men who then abused them. Yeah.
That's like the Savile stuff. That's bits.
Yeah, a lot of that is associated to do with Elm Guest House in southwest London, again in Richmond, where they had their Sunday nightclubs, and that was where Cyril Smith was. Cyril Smith was a member of Parliament who, again, eventually was found to be an extensive child abuser, and again allowed to die before it, and it's just horrendous. But yeah, Elm Guest House is absolutely infamous. But you know what happens? I always say to people, you don't need to fabricate the story beyond what it is. It's already outrageous enough. So people started to, and that's what I go back to what I said about BBC and Panorama. They were interviewing people to do with the Elm Guest House, and the stories they were coming out with were simply not true. The true story is bad enough. We really don't need to sensationalize this stuff. It's already horrendous enough. And the moment that they sensationalize it, of course, then it becomes discredited. You can discredit it easily. And that's what they did. That's what happened with the whole VIP scandal.
But I really resent the position that Jordan Peterson takes and what he's about. Of course, he emerged through the trans debate and he was brilliant. But I now see that as a Trojan horse for him to ram through his globalist, Zionist agenda. And the problem is once he got attention, he changed, right? I'm sure none of you can forget the "Give 'em hell" Netanyahu tweet. I will never, ever forget this. I don't care if he tries to explain it a million times. One, it's still on his X account, so he still stands by it. He chose never to remove it. This was after what happened on October the 7th, and he sent that to the bloodthirsty Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, that wasn't saying "give 'em hell, Hamas." That was saying "give Palestine hell." Drop bombs on babies, women, and innocent people. That's what it was, and it's still on his Twitter. And so as far as I'm concerned, he absolutely had no regrets about it whatsoever. I will never, ever forgive him for that, ever. He knew what he was doing. He had met Benjamin Netanyahu. In fact, here's an image, and had interviewed him as well. This image is with Ben Shapiro, when Ben Shapiro brought them together. I wonder if I've got it here. Famous image. There it is. And so there you go. And so obviously he's become incredibly popular now, but people are very angry with him. I believe that he has infiltrated truth movements all around the world. He's getting paid an absolute ton. I was listening to one report yesterday. Now, I don't know if that is true or false, but it was a Jimmy Dore report. And his contributor claims that Jordan Peterson is now paid $60 million by the Daily Wire. I have no idea whether that's true or false. I do know that he is extremely wealthy these days. And what he was actually saying, what Jordan Peterson was saying to Joe Rogan was about guardrailing the conversation. How do you draw the line, he wants to know. He wants to censor people. He wants to censor people from calling out the genocide that is taking place in Gaza. That's what he wants to do, right? Because he's bought and paid for. Yeah, he was the person who got famous for advocating for free speech, Emma, right? And that's the reality. He's not about free speech at all. He's about free speech about certain things. But yeah, huge volumes of money is being made by dear Jordan Peterson. And I'm not a fan. I don't support him. I don't know what he's saying. He wants to clamp down on us. He wants us not to call out genocide that is taking place in this world, and I'm not having it. I don't care who he thinks he is, but it's true. I mean, it's very true. I feel that the power of the of propaganda and of big tech, technocrats to influence is so huge at the moment. I know that you have commented on your Substack about the whole kind of madness of that shuttle with Jeff Bezos as one example. And I mean, what are your thoughts about it? Do you think it's fake?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think you can go to space, right? I mean, I think they were just wanting to show, oh, look, it's roundy, and look, we're in a roundy ball spinning in space. I don't think we're spinning in space. I don't think we're orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles an hour. Because when you start looking at all that, you see all the 666, and there are so many. And then you realise, oh, okay. I mean, I used to love the globe and all that. And it's not that I have all the answers. I really don't. It's just when you have things like this and you see the performances. I mean, Katy Perry is a very good actress, and she is like a kids' TV presenter for adults, really and truly. And she's very convincing. You notice with a lot of these types, they don't blink. She brought the butterfly up there, and I think sometimes these butterfly, well, I mean, it's the Monarch MK Ultra programming, isn't it? I mean, she wanted fame so badly. If we looked at her past, she was desperate to be famous. She's the type. Yeah, she would have done anything to be famous, and she was late to the party as well. And she, it looks like she sold herself. Selling your soul seems to be a thing, because if we just look at all her music videos and the way she is, in this very sweet, sugar-coated way, corrupting the young ones. And now this to say, hey, look, I'm up in space, and look how roundy it is down there, and look, you can see the curvature. Which is the thing, it's like...
I noticed that, the blue line they were talking about and everything, right? And do you think that the symbolism, the logo is a Baphomet? It certainly looks like it, doesn't it? Have you noticed that?
They are into inversions, so they usually do that, where if you invert it, you will see some kind of, demon. And, was it I was looking at? And it makes sense because I look at all the space stuff, all the space science-y magazines. I look at it every day because I'm interested in it. I'm interested in the lies. But what I have come to notice is that they seem to be talking in code. So, yeah, it's very weird. Like, say, one of them, it was in the Telegraph, went out in the Telegraph about moons around Saturn or something like that. And they were talking about this new discovery. They found 122 new moons. It's bullshit. Like, they're just making it up. But the way they were telling the story, it sounded like they were talking in code, that it was some other planet anyway, was winning, and then Saturn was won out with the moon count. And I thought, well, this doesn't make any sense unless it's some esoteric meaning behind this. But the same with, then they show images from space and Hubble telescope, and they're showing us, other galaxies far, far away. But it was some guy, and he was looking at the images, and then he was inverting them, and there was these demonic images. Now, okay, that is going too far, perhaps, but it is interesting if you are looking at it from the perspective that there is an esoteric meaning to all this space talk, because it's certainly not science. It's scientism, and it's showbiz, it's fakery, like we saw there. But the good thing about that is so many people now are waking up. Like before, when I started talking, say is the moon plasma maybe? Because there was this Professor Foster guy who's disappeared off the records, and he was one of the first in the 1960s to say the moon's made of plasma. I don't know what the moon is made of, but I thought this was interesting. And why is he being wiped? Because then they did the fake moon landings after that. So I thought that was very interesting. Where has he gone? He got some kind of honorary doctorate in Trinity College Dublin, and I've been trying to track it down.
Wow.
Where is he? Yeah,
wow, really? In Dublin? Wow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is that if it is fake, and I tend to think it is fake, right, this whole thing of we're taking up space, what would be the reason for it potentially, theoretically, for them faking it?
Well, you see, I do think we're up against Satanists. People say it's the Jews, it's where I think we can break it down between good and evil. If we just want to boil it down, I really, after all this time, I do think we're up against Satanists. So I think this scientism is to try and say, well, we're just a speck of dust in an ever-expanding universe, and we're just an accident, and we don't really matter. And kind of like when I was a kid, you'd look at it and you go, we're not moving. Like, and what, they're upside down in Australia? That doesn't make any sense. And you nearly have to go back to being a kid and asking those simple questions that were bet out of you and said, oh, the expert is telling you. But it's very much that, I think it's an anti-God thing. I just think that's
interesting.
Yeah.
Did you see Jeff Bezos, or Bezos, however they pronounce his name, fall over? Did you see him fall down that hole? That was kind of funny. And when they were trying to with the door, and they've actually changed the whole situation with the door was ridiculous, because the doors now actually open out, right, because of various other health and safety reasons. And even that, they were like, just wait for it. But you're absolutely right. They're actresses, performers. My favourite headline was actually in the Daily Mail, which told us what happens to Botox and fillers in space, which I thought was really quite funny, actually.
Yeah, son.
Yeah. Mr. Alexander, you've just been involved in a budget based on a lie. Why isn't the Treasury reproducing currency of zero interest? Why aren't you prepared to do that? Are you not going to answer to me? It's very simple. Last week, the Bank of England acknowledged that we can print our own currency, and so that means austerity is based on an absolute lie, and you have bought into that lie, and people are dying exponentially as an absolute consequence of your measures, and you will answer.
Keep going, son.
Has ever witnessed your absolute disgrace.
Traitor.
Will be held to account.
Go grab it. Traitors.
Absolute lies. Absolute lies. And that's what happens when you call our political representatives to account. They are lying about what has taken place. Hundreds of thousands of people are dying as a direct consequence of austerity measures, when the Bank of England admitted last week in a paper that we can print currency at will. And he has just refused to discuss the Treasury printing its own currency